Welcome to Enny's Diamond Stories, the place where everyday struggles are unwrapped into extraordinary lessons. Marriage is often described as a journey of love, but beneath that love lies something many couples underestimate: temperaments. They shape the way spouses talk, fight, forgive, dream, and even raise their children. Today, we dive into the hidden forces of temperaments in marriage, and you'll see why some unions flourish while others struggle in silence. Temperaments are the natural ways people think, feel, and behave. They are the patterns of personality we are born with, our natural strengths, weaknesses, and emotional responses. In simple terms, temperaments explain why one person loves to lead while another prefers peace, why one thrives on fun while another longs for order. Now imagine this inside marriage. A wedding day is filled with promises, laughter, and hope. But when the music fades, reality begins to whisper. The very traits that make one person unique can also become the cracks in their marriage if not understood. Some couples walk into marriage believing love alone will sustain them, only to discover that temperaments silently shape how they communicate, argue, forgive, and grow. Picture 5 couples, each carrying a different temperament, under the same roof of love. Their stories reveal not only the beauty, but also the dangers of temperament, and the balancing act every marriage requires. But hidden within these marriages lies a deeper question: when strengths turn to weaknesses and opposites collide, will love survive the test of temperaments, or will it break under the weight of misunderstanding? The answer begins on a honeymoon night in Paris. The lights of the Eiffel Tower glow in the distance, but inside the hotel room, tension brews. One spouse insists on carefully planning the week with schedules and lists, while the other throws the papers aside, wanting only to dance in the streets and live in the moment. What should have been a dream turns into a storm of silence. The room fills with unspoken words, 2 different worlds clashing under one roof. This is the hidden power of temperaments, 2 hearts that love each other deeply, yet see life through different lenses. Let us look at the Choleric Marriage. Daniel and Ruth stood out from the start. Daniel was choleric, bold, decisive, and always in control. He ran his business with precision, and at home he carried the same energy. Bills were never late, plans were always set, and life seemed secure under his leadership. But Ruth often felt as though she was living under a commander instead of a companion. A small delay in dinner could lead to tension. A different opinion could spark heated silence. She longed for tenderness, but Daniel's drive often overshadowed emotions. One evening, after a heated exchange about finances, Ruth packed a small bag and sat quietly at the edge of the bed, wondering if love was enough. Daniel realized then that his strength could either guide his marriage forward or break it apart. That night became the turning point, where he chose listening over commanding. Let's take a closer look at the Sanguine Marriage. If you walked into Tunde and Grace's home, you'd hear laughter before you knocked. Grace, a sanguine, filled the house with stories, parties, and adventures. Their children adored her, neighbors loved her, and every corner of their home carried life. But when the guests left and the music stopped, reality showed its cracks. Bills were forgotten on the counter. Promises to help the children with homework were replaced by last-minute outings. Tunde, her steady husband, felt invisible whenever Grace poured her heart into everyone else. One month, they nearly lost their home to unpaid rent, not because they lacked money, but because Grace had misplaced the documents. The wake-up call forced her to face the side of her temperament that could destroy the joy she created. The sanguine makes a marriage exciting, but without discipline, excitement can become chaos. The next is the Phlegmatic Marriage. Kemi and Joseph's home felt like an island of peace. Joseph, a phlegmatic man, was calm, steady, and slow to anger. Kemi loved his patience and the way he soothed storms with quiet words. In their early years, Joseph's temperament felt like a gift. But as the years went by, silence grew louder. When Kemi wanted to discuss moving to a new city, Joseph avoided the topic. When issues about their son's behavior came up, he nodded and stayed quiet. Decisions piled up without answers. One day, after months of waiting, Kemi took the children and moved temporarily to her mother's house just to get Joseph's attention. The shock jolted him into realizing that peace without communication was not peace at all, it was distance. The phlegmatic keeps a marriage steady, but avoiding issues can leave wounds unhealed. Let's explore the Melancholic Marriage. Shannon and Harold were admired by many. Shannon, a melancholic, planned everything with perfection. Birthdays were beautifully organized, bills were paid on time, and their children were neatly dressed and always prepared for school. Harold often said he felt safe in her hands, but inside their home, shadows lived. Shannon's high standards left little room for mistakes. A missing button on Harold's shirt could spark a lecture. A poorly cleaned kitchen could ruin her mood for hours. Harold, though loving, sometimes felt measured instead of embraced. One night, after Shannon scolded him for misplacing an important document, Harold slept on the couch, whispering to himself whether love meant living under a spotlight of perfection. The next morning, seeing him withdrawn, Shannon realized her love was being lost in her criticism. Slowly, she began to soften her grip on perfection and embrace grace. The melancholic builds a structured, loyal marriage, but without flexibility, love suffocates under the weight of expectations. The mixed temperament marriage, choleric plus phlegmatic clash. Perhaps the most dramatic of all was Femi and Ada's story. Femi, a choleric, lived life in the fast lane. His energy was relentless. Projects, deadlines, and goals kept him moving like a train. Ada, however, was deeply phlegmatic. She craved peace, calmness, and stability. At first, Femi's drive excited her, while Ada's gentleness soothed him. But as months turned into years, differences sharpened like blades. Femi wanted quick decisions. Ada preferred waiting. Femi pushed for bold risks. Ada resisted with quiet hesitation. When Femi raised his voice, Ada grew even quieter, retreating into silence that infuriated him further. The climax came when Femi nearly invested their savings into a risky business venture. Ada's refusal to sign the papers became the spark of a heated argument that left both shattered. For the first time, Femi realized his strength without Ada's calm would lead to ruin, and Ada realized her silence could destroy their unity. Through tears, they began to discover the secret. Femi's fire needed Ada's water, and Ada's calm needed Femi's boldness. Together, they could balance each other, if only they chose to. The suspense in their marriage was not whether they loved each other, but whether they could embrace their opposites instead of fighting them. 5 couples, 5 different temperaments, all walking the same road called marriage. Each one faced storms that threatened to drown love. One fought control, another fought instability, another hid from conflict, another battled unrealistic expectations, and another wrestled with opposites colliding. What saved them was not perfection but understanding. Daniel learned to pause and listen. Grace learned to plan and follow through. Joseph learned to confront with love. Chika learned to embrace imperfection. Femi and Ada learned to balance their fire and calm. When they began to appreciate one another's differences instead of fighting them, their marriages transformed from battlegrounds into sanctuaries. Lessons to learn from the story. 1. Temperaments shape the way spouses love, fight, and forgive. 2. Every temperament has beauty and danger. The secret lies in balance. 3. Opposite temperaments can clash, but they can also complete each other. 4. Love without understanding creates wounds. Love with understanding creates healing. 5. True marital joy comes when couples celebrate their differences as gifts, not weaknesses. Marriage is not the union of 2 perfect people, but the blending of 2 imperfect temperaments, shaped by love and grace. The key is not to change who your spouse is, but to understand who they are. So, the next time you wonder why your partner reacts a certain way, remember, it might not be stubbornness, recklessness, or silence. It may simply be their temperament speaking. Thank you for joining Enny's Diamond Stories today. If you've seen yourself or your spouse in these stories, take it as a sign that you are not alone. Every temperament can build a strong, beautiful marriage if guided with love and wisdom. Don't miss more life-changing stories like this. Hit the subscribe button, share this story, and stay connected to discover more diamonds hidden in everyday life. Until next time, remember, different temperaments are not a barrier, but a bridge to deeper love when handled with wisdom. See you in the next video. Bye.